Listen up. Another St. Charles Parish native is giving back in a big way.
This is the start of it, and I just wanted to work on this and build from this.
Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson and Optimum Nutrition donated this state-of-the-art outdoor fitness station to Parquet Park in St. Rose. The equipment produced by Compan and provided by Optimum Nutrition's Building Better Lives initiative aims to give better access to fitness in under-resourced communities. Jefferson and parish officials couldn't be happier about the donation.
This is a great addition to Parquet Park. A collaboration between Justin Jefferson and Optimum Nutrition has brought the world-class outdoor fitness assembly that you see behind me.
Nice to think. All these people, I knew you were going to take the stage.
I have Apollo. I'm up there $100 a year. I
Right.
remember one of the other foolishness.
She says, here he goes again. Right.
And I know the lady who sits in it for community action advisory, she's not dropping it.
Good evening and welcome to the St. Charles Parish Council meeting Monday, August 15, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers in the parish courthouse. Please silence all electronic devices and remove all hats. This meeting is called to order with a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance from Pastor Tommy Hogan with the Calvary Baptist Church in Louisville.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this day. We thank you for your many blessings, Lord, that you've bestowed upon us. And Father, we come tonight just asking your hand on this council. Father, on our parish president, Lord, that you'd bless them with wisdom and discernment as they lead us. Father, help us to all work together for the betterment, Father, of our parish and one another. And we ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Hogan. Approval of the minutes from the regular meeting August 1st, 2022. A motion and a second is needed to approve the minutes from the regular meeting. I have a motion by Ms. Fonseca, second by Ms. Belloc. Please cast your votes. And that motion passes unanimously with Councilwoman Billings absent for this evening. Special business, proclamation, canvass returns, etc. 2022-0226, proclamation, French Language and Heritage Day. Mr. Dufresne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to read this in English, and Madame Carol Bro is going to follow me and read it in French. So here we go. Whereas St. Charles Parish, Louisiana recognizes that the French language is vitally important to the identity and culture of the people who settled this area of South Louisiana in the 1700s and 1800s, and whereas we encourage all our citizens to teach with great pride to our children all that they can about the French language, culture, and history that has made this area so uniquely different than any other area of the United States, and whereas we encourage our citizens to promote and speak French in public venues and family gatherings, and whereas we encourage our local businesses to do business in French and are bilingual, and whereas we recognize that French language has always been a vital part of the culture and economy of St. Charles Parish, Louisiana, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry for the state of Louisiana. Now, Madame Touchard will read it in French. Madame Bro, I'm sorry.
Touchard, bro. Attendu que la paroisse de Saint-Charles en Louisiane reconnaît que la langue française est une importance vitale pour l'identité et la culture des personnes qui sont installées dans cette région de la sud de la Louisiane dans les années 1700 et 1800. Attendu que nous encourageons tous nos citoyens à enseigner avec une grande fierté à nos enfants tout ce qu'ils peuvent sur la langue, la culture et l'histoire française, qui ont rendu cette région si différente de toutes les autres régions des États-Unis. Attendu que nous encourageons nos citoyens à promouvoir et à parler le français dans les lieux publics et les réunions de famille. Attendu que nous encourageons notre entreprise locale à faire des affaires en français et ou bilingue français et anglais. Attendu que nous reconnaissons que la langue française a toujours été un élément vital de la culture et de l'économie de la paroisse de Saint-Charles de Louisiane et que c'est une industrie de plusieurs milliards de dollars pour l'État de Louisiane.
Now therefore be it resolved, we the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President do hereby proclaim September 7, 2022 as French Language and Heritage Day.
Par conséquent, il résultat, nous, les membres de la paroisse de Saint-Charles, le consul et le paroisse président proclament par la présente le 7 de septembre 2022 comme le jour de langue et de l'héritage français.
Merci beaucoup, maman.
Ms. Cooley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to call up Mr. Calvin Leger, who brought this to our attention, the importance of the French Language and Heritage Day in the state of Louisiana. I think it's sad that our parents and grandparents spoke French so that their kids couldn't understand what they were saying instead of teaching us the language. So I think it's died off for the most part from our community, and I think it's important that we do make an effort to try to bring it back. So if you want to say a few words also.
Yes, first I'd like to start by thanking St. Charles Parish Council for considering the proclamation. It means a lot to me. I've tried to figure out a way to reach out to different area mayors, parish councils, and do something that didn't cost anything. There wasn't any pressure for them to have to make any commitments. It was just a way for the community to come together and say that we appreciate French. And so, thank you all very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Burrow. Ms. Leger, if you come up, I think Councilman Dufresne would like to get a picture. Well, they got blonde hair, blue-eyed French people, too.
Thank you.
All righty, reports, finance administrative activities, 2022-0227, St. Charles Community Health Center. Ms. Cager.
Good evening. My name is Mark Kaiser. I'm the President and Executive Officer for Access Health Louisiana, and I have my colleague who will be presenting the report this evening. I wanted to just take a couple moments of your time and thank you for the opportunity to do this presentation. Most importantly, though, this evening to thank you and the predecessors of the positions you currently hold that had the foresight to establish this organization, work with the community group to establish it about 20 years ago. St. Charles Community Health Center operates with a number of different names today. One is Access Health Louisiana, but the corporation is domiciled here in St. Charles Parish, and this is the home of the corporation, always will be. It began 20 years ago as a vision to provide primary care and public health services to residents of this parish, particularly focused on low-income folks, but people with who lack the traditional access to health care. We met that need and continue to meet that need, but today the organization provides services in many communities here in the state of Louisiana. It's the largest federally qualified health center in the state, providing services to about 50,000 unduplicated individuals on an annual basis. One of the visions we were charged with at the time this corporation was established by your predecessors was to have the highest quality and try and be the lowest cost provider, because they were very serious about using the public revenues that would be part of the operating revenue for the company. Today, Access Health Louisiana operates at 31% less cost than the average health center in the United States. And that's a great accomplishment to be in that particular part of the cost structure. But more important is the quality. And that's really what we're very, very proud of, is the quality of the services that are delivered. And you'll hear more about that tonight, but in general, we're in the top 10% in quality throughout the country and in the state when we're compared to organizations similar to ourselves, as well as large healthcare organizations as we have here in the parish and other parishes. So that's a little bit about Access Health Louisiana, and we do work well with the administration, and I wanted to thank the current parish president and the EOC when we're confronted with the kinds of things that we've been confronted with over the last 3 years, whether that's a virus that we have to figure out some way to get control of, or deal with a hurricane that seems to want to destroy everything that's built over many, many years. We've got great partners to work with. And so thank you, and hopefully you'll be impressed with the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Kaiser.
Good evening, President Jewell and esteemed council members. My name is Shanae Reynolds, and I'm Vice President of School Health and Strategic Media for Access Health Louisiana. Access Health Louisiana is proud to be a part of the St. Charles Parish community for over 20 years now. Our St. Charles Community Health Centers in Luling and Norco serve as the parish public health unit on both sides of the river. This past week, we celebrated National Community Health Center Week. Community health centers are a vital part of our nation's healthcare system. Access Health Louisiana's health centers are part of the 1,400 community health centers across the U.S. that deliver high-quality, comprehensive primary health services to America's medically underserved. Health centers like ours serve patients regardless of their income or insurance status. During this week-long celebration at our clinics, we teamed up with community partners to disseminate important information to patients and their families around different health topics. Some of the partners tabling at our Luling Clinic included the Louisiana Department of Health, the Office of Emergency Preparedness, and the LSU Ag Center. Families received information on hurricane preparedness, healthy eating and lifestyles, as well as COVID vaccinations. Free home COVID testing kits were also given away. During this week, our employees teamed up with Second Harvesters Food Bank to collect non-perishable food items in our clinics to donate to needy families. This month, our school-based health centers also reopened, welcoming back students. This year, Access Health Louisiana extended our school-based health services to 2 more school campuses, Destrehan and Hahnville High Schools. We now officially have 5 wellness centers that service 7 schools in St. Charles Parish. We offer behavioral health services at our 2 high school campuses. We offer primary care, behavioral health, and dental services to students attending St. Rose Elementary, Albert Cammon Middle, RJVL Elementary, J.B. Martin Middle, and Luling Elementary Schools. Primary care services consist of acute and diagnostic care, well and sick visits, immunizations and sports physical, COVID testing and vaccines are also available. Behavioral health services consist of counseling, support services for stress and anger management, dealing with anxiety, bullying, substance abuse, grief counseling, and communication. Routine dental cleanings are also being offered during the school day. To access our services, parents complete a consent and enrollment form and turn it into the Wellness Center. Parents never pay a copay for services, and all students are welcome, including those who are uninsured. School-based services are beneficial because they keep more children in school and save parents from having to take off work during the school day to pick up their child and bring them to a doctor. We have been working very closely with the school nurses, counselors, and administrators to make sure that parents are aware of these great services available to their children. We make signing up for the services very easy. Parents can complete paper forms given to them when they attend open houses and grade-level school events. Consents were also added this year to the St. Charles Parish School District's Power School website. This allowed parents to complete the forms as part of their annual school enrollment packets. We also distributed QR codes and digital links to the school nurses and counselors to give to parents who were interested in signing their students up for health services. Access Health Louisiana is attending as many open house events as possible to answer questions parents may have about our wellness centers and to allow them to get to know the providers who will be taking care of their children. These are some photos of our current school-based health center staff members in St. Charles Parish. So currently in St. Charles Parish, this map of Louisiana shows all of the patients and where they come from to access care here in St. Charles Parish. Currently, we serve over 12,600 patients who account for over 39,000 encounters annually. These numbers are from 2021. The majority of our patients we see here in St. Charles Parish are on Medicaid. And here's a list of our current services that we offer here in St. Charles Parish. Now I would like to introduce to you one of my colleagues, Shatrian Kanger, who is our Senior Vice President of Population Health.
Good evening, council members. All right, so as Mark mentioned and as my colleague mentioned, last week was National Health Center Week, and annually that's the week that HRSA, which is the federal agency that oversees federally qualified health centers like ourselves, releases all of the National Health Center data for all of the other federally qualified health centers that allows us to compare ourselves against how we're doing in terms of clinical performance. And so I wanted you guys to see this tonight. As we mentioned, there's close to 1,400 health centers nationwide. And what you see here is I kind of pulled out a smattering of our quality metrics. I pulled out our St. Charles Parish Community Health Centers and then how they compare against Access Health Louisiana's clinics as a whole, and then how we compare to the state, the average state health center, and then the nationwide average. So as you can see, in terms of volume, the St. Charles Parish clinics make up about 25% of our overall Access Health network of clinics, and then Access Health accounts for about 11% actually of the statewide community health center patient population as a whole. And together, health centers nationwide take care of over 30 million patients, which is amazing. And as Mark mentioned, we do a great job in terms of keeping costs down for our patients compared to the statewide average as well as the national average. And then you can see here those in green. We really knocked it out the ballpark in terms of beating the statewide average and the national average. went off. Okay. There we go. So we knocked it out of the ballpark in terms of colorectal cancer screening, depression screening, and breast cancer screening. Where we beat the statewide average but didn't quite hit the national average was around cervical cancer screening and diabetes control. And then we were pretty much on par with the state in terms of hypertension, blood pressure control, but coming in just under the nationwide average, which, as we know, I'm going to cut us a little slack from all of the social stressors that our patient population had in 2021. So that being said, I wanted to talk about what we're putting in place in terms of helping patients address those different social stressors that are drivers of their health, as we know, like transportation, housing placements, assistance with food insecurity. So I'm proud to announce tonight that we're launching a partnership with the nation's leader in social service referrals called findhelp.org. And it's a network where us as the provider can go on and type in a patient's zip code as well as their referring provider, like our primary care providers or behavioral health providers that are doing universal screening of all of our patients to identify their social service needs, and then to allocate the appropriate referral agency that, such as like United Way or Second Harvest, places that they could make referrals for the patients. And then not only are we just giving the patient the referral, but we're going to be able to track and make sure and follow up with that patient to make sure that they actually receive the services that we were referring them to. So that's a really great benefit of working with this tool. And that being said, I just wanted to also share with you, these are just some of the benefits of being our patient. As you can see, we have our in-house pharmacy and offer transportation assistance, chronic care management. And then, as you know, we're very involved in the community with providing area events and free screenings throughout the parish. So we thank you. For any questions tonight for us?
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. I'm sorry, Ms. Cluley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you still do deliveries for pharmacy throughout the community?
I'm going to let my colleague answer that. Ms. Stephanie Thompson, she's our director of pharmacy.
Yeah. I know at one time they did. I don't know if they still do. So they still do.
We do FedEx, UPS, and then we also courier delivery.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to thank you all for how responsive you are to the needs in our community. You really have a good feel, your finger on the pulse of the community, and you're able to react. Like, for instance, with COVID, it came upon us all of a sudden, the needs changed like that, and I think y'all did a really great job of meeting those needs, if not exceeding those needs, and I know Parish President Jewell could probably speak to this better, but whenever, something was needed, I know y'all were there to help with it. So really appreciate that. Thank you.
We're happy to serve.
Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to, again, kind of echo what Ms. Fonseca said. Y'all are always very responsive. Mark, me and you talked way more than we should have in my first year in office, but obviously with the kind of the height of the pandemic, we were making sure that resources were flowing to our most vulnerable population. And again, with the mobile unit that y'all have had and putting those in our vulnerable areas of the parish, that has been invaluable to us. We're hoping to expand some of the things that we offer, and I think that there's a great opportunity for us to partner in the future, and I look forward to having some conversations about that as well.
Thank you.
I want to echo the parish president's remarks. Definitely, you guys, first year of our term, we sit here and we think about we're in year 3. I mean, y'all were right there, Mark. I mean, every time we asked for something, all your whole staff, everybody, I really appreciate y'all coming out tonight. So, and thank y'all.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All righty, 2022-0228, Parish President remarks report. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll wait for this to get opened up real quick here. I know I keep sharing this in my report, but we keep seeing some great movement on it. The East Bank Trailhead progress, you can see the gazebos are up here. So the final upgrades, again, are going to include these two pavilions, picnic tables, painting and painting of the parking lot, as well as restoration upgrades. So as we get some progress on that, I'd just like to share. Next will be the IMTT Park upgrades. That is starting as well. Demoing damage from Hurricane Ida, adding some pavilions for people to sit and have lunch. New bollards in the parking area to protect the vehicles from entering active use areas. We're going to be relocating the batting cage and adding additional lighting for people to use in the evening, as well as making some upgrades to the restrooms there. We had a great event, or just a great opportunity to go out and see the new sluice gates that were installed along Sugar House Road that helps retain water on Bear's property during heavy rain events. Bear commenced with a drainage study in 2021. They identified that they were putting a lot of water into this watershed, which is the old Luling watershed. We agreed with that and talked about some of the concerns that we had because on at least that side of Bear's property, as well as our residents who live in Old Luling, the Sugar House Road Canal is the main conveyance. So this is going to hold more water on their property, drain it slowly into this canal. And we've already seen major improvements during heavy rain events. There used to be spots along this canal where water would actually come over the banks of the canal and drain down one of our streets, Post Drive. And we have not seen that yet as during heavy rain events. So just a testament to Bear, and we want to again just appreciate them and thank them for partnering with St. Charles Parish government to make benefits and improvements in our community. So thanks again to Bear. Risk management, we're doing an all-employee training. All employees will participate in an online annual safety training provided by LWCC. If you are not familiar with LWCC, LWCC provides our workman's comp insurance, and they also have a whole host of training that we've been utilizing, anywhere from excavation training, chainsaw training, and then this is just a general safety course. So as just an emphasis on our safety, we are going to be providing this online training for all of our employees. Online courses for this field are going to include, are being held at the community center, and office personnel will be able to participate from their workstations as well. Sales tax, want to update the council on sales tax. Sales tax for the month of June was actually down 1.58% from June of 2021. Overall, the sales tax totals from January to June are still up. I think we have it up there. Is it 4.35%? Are still up 4.35% over this time last year. Over to Check the Chip Day. This is something that our animal shelter provides annually. The animal shelter is going to host a Check the Chip Day, or they hosted it today, where community pets were able to make sure that their microchips were up to date and had accurate information for hurricane season. As a reminder, August through October is the most active time for hurricane season, so we're asking our residents to also stay weather aware and to sign up for SCP alerts by texting SCP alerts to 888-777, or you can register online at scpalerts.com. Lastly, just open job positions. We have carpenter, distribution maintenance tech, electrician, grass cutters 1 and 2, equipment operators 1, 2, 3, and 4, groundskeeper, laborer, pump operator helper, pump technician helper, recreation maintenance and grass cutter, shop mechanic helper, wastewater laborer. To apply online, visit stcharlesparish.gov/employment or call 985-783-5000. Additionally, you may see two new signs, one on the East Bank and one on the West Bank, that have our positions posted on that website. On that sign for our residents to see as they pass by. So just another way to help market those open positions. Lastly, I'd like to just turn it over to Ms. Paula Rome with Entergy to give us an update on Entergy's activities.
Thank you, President Jewell. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Paula Rome. I am Entergy's new customer service manager for the government accounts in St. Charles Parish. So if you guys need help with Entergy, I'm the person to call. If I haven't given you my card before the meeting, I'll be around after the meeting to introduce myself one-on-one with you guys and give you all my contact info. But Matt and Mike know how to find me if you need it. So what I'm here to talk about tonight is the hot button topic everybody's talking about is the high bills with Entergy. So I'm here to do a little education on that, talk about bill help, and of course we are, as President Jewell said, we are in the middle of hurricane season, so we do have to talk a little bit about preparing for a storm. So if you look at your energy bills, whether it's residential or business, there's three main components to it, and it can be quite confusing. The first component is your usage, which is the part of the bill that as a homeowner or a business owner, you can actually control. And as we know, this summer we're in increased summer heat, record-breaking temperatures, so that part of your bill is obviously up and always is up at this time of the year. And that's due to summer heat and increased usage. That is the part of the bill that Entergy, that you can control and Entergy can control. The other two parts of the bill, the second part is that fuel adjustment charges, and that's where your bills are going higher. That is what we'll talk a lot about that later on, and that's where you're seeing the major increase in your bills, and that's due to the price of natural gas. The third component of the bills is the storm recovery cost, and it's important to note that the fuel adjustment and the storm recovery cost of your bills are both parts of the bill that Entergy does not profit off of either. If you are familiar with Entergy and our infrastructure, the Public Service Commission regulates Entergy, and both parts of those bills, the fuel adjustment costs and the storm recovery costs, are regulated and dictated to us by the Public Service Commission. We do not make profit off of either parts of there. So the biggest part of your bill is the natural gas charges, the fuel adjustment right now, which is driving customer bills high. The cost of natural gas is what we use to generate numerous power generation facilities. That's what's continuing to rise. As a result, we are all seeing higher than normal costs on our bills. Higher natural gas price is a factor that we're all dealing with, whether we're dealing with it at the gas pump, whether we're dealing in the grocery store. Unfortunately, this is the last part that we're all dealing with now in our energy bills. What I can tell you is that the fuel adjustment charges that are on our bill are about 2 months behind, which is why we just started to see them. So what we're paying for now is actually 2 months behind. So you'll start seeing that. These charts really show the comparison of how our energy bills have gone up recently. And these charts show 2020 to 2022, comparing July to July, okay? So it is our highest usage months, so you can compare. So, and this is looking at 1,000 kilowatt hours, comparing apples to apples. So in July of 2020, that green bar at the top is all the other energy charges. So that's your usage, which is predominantly usage. So in 2 years, that went from about $77 for 1,000 kilowatt hours to $82 from 2020 to 2022. The purple bar you see is the fuel cost. And as you can see, that has dramatically increased from about $18 to $40-something. 62? Okay, thank you. $62. And then the orange bar is the storm recovery cost. Now, what I can tell you is on the August bills, we have 3 storm recovery costs on your bills right now. The 2008 storms, the 2011 storms, and then now our most recent ones, which was Ida, Zeta, Delta, and that winter storm. So the 2008 storm recovery charges are about to fall off the bills this month. This chart really shows the increase in those fuel adjustment charges. Again, you see that, that green bar that shows every other charge in your bill besides fuel adjustment, and the increase there from $80 to $95, and the fuel cost and the significant increase there. So the fuel costs in our bills have increased by 250% in the last 2 years. And y'all are all feeling that in your personal lives. The natural gas costs have increased all of everything in our lives, from paying at the gas pump to our groceries now and your electricity bills. So again, to reiterate, the fuel costs have increased from being 18% of your total residential bill in July of 2020 to now being 40% of your total residential bill in July of 2020. Entergy Louisiana does not profit off of fuel costs, nor do we profit off of storm recovery costs, and that is a straight pass over by the Louisiana Public Service order. These charts are just another way for you to look at it. The gray shows all your other costs. The blue shows your fuel cost. That was 2020. This was 2021. You see the increase to 28%, and here we are now. So for those of you that say, you know, your bills are doubling, they are doubling, and it's the fuel cost. If you look at your bill and you calculate about 40%, 40% will be under your fuel cost. So what is Entergy doing to help? So there's a few ways that we have helped. So we have committed $10 million to shareholder donations to apply to Entergy bills through our bill payment assistance programs that we currently have. Through residential customers, that's including our Power to Care Fund that is funded by employees. We are also waiving late fees and credit card fees, and we're also organizing employee volunteers to conduct energy-efficient weatherization events. I just got the contact information for y'all community person here for St. Charles Parish, and we will be planning 2 to 3, well, they tell me 2 to 5 maybe, weatherization projects in St. Charles Parish in low-income areas that we will come in with a team of volunteers to show the homeowners how to weatherize their houses. Whether that is to show them how to we're going to put digital monitors on their air conditioning. We'll show them how to, make sure their windows are sealed correctly, and some of those kind of initiatives. Now, another thing, and this happened since this presentation, so I wanted to point out, a lot of people are asking, and here's the website to go to, entergy.com/billhelp. A press release went out about our partnership with United Way to offer residents $150 off their bill. So, when they were coming to us as customer service managers saying, how can we help? What are you hearing in the community? What I was hearing a lot was we do a lot of different things for low-income people, but the people that are getting hurt the most right now in their pocketbooks are those people that are a little bit higher up than lower-income people that can't qualify for some of these programs. So what Entergy has put up $4.4 million to our local United Ways. That includes St. Charles Parish. And on August 17th, which is Wednesday, if you go to this website, the information is on there now, entergy.com/billhelp, and it'll tell you how to apply for that money. So the information is on there for what income level it is, but for a family of 4, it's $69,000 or less can apply for this money, and that's a one-time payment of $150 off of your bill. So that money is a first come, first serve. So Samantha does have the information there, and I provided that to her on Friday when the press release came out. So, share that with your constituents, share that, bill help, because the money, once it's used, it'll be going. So please share that with your folks and have them, St. Charles residents, please get that money while you can. We do offer payment extensions, levelized billing. If you're worried about your bill and haven't tried the levelized billing, now's the time to do it. Levelized billing, I get that question a lot. How does that work? Well, it'll look at the last 12 months of your bill and come up with the average. Now, if your bills go down or they go up, they look at the last 12 months. So that levelized billing could change a little bit depending on what that is, but it does get recalculated. There is, if you go to Entergy's website and look for levelized billing, there is a way for you to put in your information, and they can, if you have myenergy.com, you can put in your information and they can tell you what your levelized billing would be before you actually sign up for the program if people are interested. And that's what we talked about, levelized billing, payment extensions, and deferred payment arrangements. We also have that as well. So as President Jewell said, it is hurricane season. We are at the peak of hurricane season. Let's please hope we do not have a hurricane this year. But if we do, Entergy is prepared. We do have notifications that we provide, myenergy.com. If you haven't used that site, please familiarize yourself with it. Storm Center, we do provide a lot of information there. Social media, in the event of a storm, is very powerful. And the last one, which I like to tell a lot of people about, is energy.com/view outages. If you have My Energy, you can see it there, but you can also view outages, and you can click and you can see the outage in your community. You can see the outages all across South Louisiana, and it'll tell you how many customers are affected, what's the estimated restoration time. You don't even have to log into the site. You can view it as a guest at myenergy.com to view the outages. So we do like to remind customers that major hurricanes do cause extended outages and restoration times, and this is our worst case scenario times Entergy provides. We do like to provide quicker service, and of course we have in the past, but you know, we always plan for worst case scenario, and that's our worst case scenario. Now, any questions?
Ms. Cluey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of things. You mentioned that the natural gas has gone up 250%. I would kind of think with the nuclear plant in our parish that most of our energy cost would be with nuclear energy and not so much natural gas energy. Is it because the natural gas is provided is what's needed for other customers and it's just spread throughout the region and it's not necessarily where our energy is generated from?
Yes, ma'am. So all of the power generation plants serve all of Entergy, Louisiana. And so if you look at our portfolio, Entergy is trying to do some different things. You may have heard that we're trying to do a solar farm in St. John Parish. There's some different things that we're trying to expand the way that we access power. And the nuclear plant is one of them. Solar is one of them. We're looking into wind. But if you still look at our portfolio, probably, don't quote me, but over 90% is still generated through natural gas. So the nuclear plant does help, but the majority of it is still natural gas.
Well, the nuclear plant is still up and running 100%, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's not down
Yes,
for any reason.
It is running right now.
The storm recovery cost, does insurance cover any of that for Entergy, or is Entergy self-insured?
Entergy has to be self-insured, and we cannot apply or qualify for any FEMA money or any of that kind of stuff as well. Now, we are working. Entergy does have a hot list of projects. We always have a list of projects for St. Charles Parish that we want to work on, and we prioritize those projects. We actually had a meeting scheduled for today that we had to move to meet with President Jewell and Mr. Palamone to discuss those projects and see how we can partner together to move some of those projects forward, some hardening projects and things to better the grid here.
And FEMA doesn't give any funding towards the recovery of
None.
utilities?
None. We get none. Now, we are, there was a grant that we applied for. It was called a big federal grant, but we did not get it. It said that private entities could apply for it, utility entities, but we were not awarded it. They said we would have to partner with a big public entity.
For weatherization events, that would be contractors that would come into people's houses to do improvements to their...
It would be, Entergy's going to hire a contractor to come in and help do that, but it also would be with Entergy volunteers to help
like
come
they would
and do that.
they give them LED lighting as opposed to other lighting?
Yes, ma'am, all of the above.
Weatherized door entries and windows and stuff?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
All of the above, yes, ma'am.
Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank you for the presentation because I think it helped answer some of the questions, we've all had. And also welcome as our Entergy rep for St. Charles Parish. When the bill payment assistance program was announced, I think it was last week, originally it only included some parishes to the east of us. So I'd also like to thank you all for expanding that to our parish because when I saw that, I was a little disappointed. But shortly afterwards, y'all responded that you were expanding it to our parish. And I've used levelized billing on my personal bill for many years, and I would recommend it to anyone because it does help you avoid those spikes in the hotter months and the colder months also that you would see in your bill, and does exactly what the name says. It levelizes it quite a bit. So thank you very much.
And thank you for bringing up that press release. Sometimes energy jumps the gun, and that was one of those instances because, I represent Southeast Louisiana, and so President Jewell and a few other parish presidents that I work with called and texted me right away and said, "Where's our parish?" I immediately called Energy Corporate Communications and said, "What's going on?" And the press release announced the United Way of Southeast Louisiana.
Yes.
Which did include our United Ways this way.
Right.
And the next day it came out with all the parishes. I wish they would have waited one more day and not confuse people, but that's what happened.
Great. Thank you very much.
Mr. Jewell.
Paul, you mentioned, the fuel adjustment charge, and certainly when I look at my Entergy bill and compare them to previous bills, that fuel adjustment charge is the largest chunk of it. So my question is, to sort of buffer residents, because it almost seemed like immediately once natural gas prices started to rise, we saw it instantly. So is Entergy, since 65% of our electricity in Louisiana is generated with natural gas, is Entergy looking at natural gas futures? I assume they're looking at natural gas futures, but are they going to hedge natural gas to somewhat buffer us from potential swings in gas pricing as well?
Well, Matt, that's not really an energy question because that is pushed down for us from the Public Service Commission. So I don't know what their plans are. So they actually set those charges for us. So I don't know what their plans are. We see what we see on our bill is 2 months behind from what the natural gas charges are. So I don't really know how to answer that because the Public Service Commission dictates that to us.
They're setting the price?
They're setting the price.
Okay.
They set the price for fuel charges and storm charges. We go to the Public Service Commission with recommendations for storm charges, and then they nickel and dime it and penny it, and then they come up with what the final costs are.
But certainly Entergy could purchase fuel out a year in advance. Certainly if they found a price point they like, they could hedge that and say, we're going to buy a year's worth of fuel. Now, I don't know if they can do that, but at least that way if fuel spikes, but the people don't automatically see it. This is something that's commonly done in the airline industry.
Right.
They hedge fuel and other things
I know they're looking, to that point, they are looking into that stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you're saying the gas prices, you guys can't, that's done by the state level, you were just saying?
Yes.
Because, everybody keeps saying natural gas and if you're going to follow the federal government and all that malarkey, but my Adams bill didn't go up that much. And I ran a generator for a long time after the storm, and it's still not that high right now. So how come the gas you guys are buying is more expensive than what I'm getting from Atmos?
I don't know how to answer that question for you. I don't know how Atmos is set up. I know that some of the other co-ops, if you go to Public Service Commission website, and I just found this recently, they will show you from year to year what the prices are from fuel costs and storm costs and for their rates, and they'll show you the charts. Now who's regulated by who, I'm not quite sure. I know I get a lot of questions, the difference between Energy New Orleans and Energy Louisiana. Energy New Orleans is regulated by the City of New Orleans, and we're regulated by the Public Service Commission. I'm not familiar with how all the other companies are regulated, so I don't know.
So getting back to the nuclear power plant we have here in our parish, so how much of that power actually is used in St. Charles Parish? And the part that isn't, what do you guys do? Who do you sell it to? Because I know you're not just letting it sit there. So why we don't get a little benefit from that?
I don't know that answer, but I'll be happy to get that back to you.
We have the ticking bomb in our parish. Why don't we don't get the benefit of it?
Mrs. Dufresne, I'll definitely look that up for you. I don't have that answer. They keep things very different with power generation and distribution at Energy. So I don't usually get that kind of information, but I will be happy to look that up for you and get that back to you.
Thank you.
Ms. Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll speak to that real quick before I go to what I was going to say. we actually, in a sense, do reap the benefits because it's housed in St. Charles, and we reap the benefits through tax dollars. So, in a sense, the residents recognize it, but indirectly. But, you know, that's kind of the price you pay.
How we use it at
However,
Entergy, but I'll find out for you.
recently, the tax dollars used to be split in a very unfair manner. The Public Service Commission recently awarded us the full amount. No, not on the tax side, but the bills aren't recognizing that necessarily. But that's not why I pressed my button. I want to say congrats and welcome aboard, Paul. I'm glad to see you in this role, and thanks for your quick response to one of my issues in my district the other day. Just want to give you a little heads up. I have a few poles that need attention in District 7 before hurricane season, so I will be reaching out, and I'm glad to see you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My only question is that I have on a fuel adjustment. You stated that we were 2 months behind. So you're pretty much stating that residents may expect still larger bills in September and October as well?
Ma'am. Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
All righty.
Any other questions?
Paula, I've got a couple of questions for you.
Sir.
You have a pretty big presence in St. Charles Parish. You've got Waterford 1, Waterford 2, which were fossil fuel plants. You got Waterford 3 was nuclear. You got Gypsy 1, 2, and 3. You got the St. Charles Power Plant. You got the distribution plant. You got a significant industrial customer base. So, I mean, I appreciated all of it, but, and I think Councilman Dufresne brought it up, it's our residents put up with a lot from your company. And I think can we hold you to a little bit higher accountability than most of our people. So, but I appreciate it. It's nice meeting you. Thank you for coming in, and I know everybody's going to be interested in speaking with you. Hopefully, we won't have to talk to you as much as we talked to Kent over last year. Said a blessing about that, but.
Kent got out of here, man. He's still going.
Ken's still around. He's just in charge of commercial industrial at Entergy.
So. Well, Paula, thank you for coming in. It was really nice meeting you.
Thank you. And I'll get back to you about those questions about the plant, okay? I'll be happy. I'll pass that on to to Matt and Mike, and they can pass it on to all the council. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ordinance resolutions introduced for publication, public hearing, Tuesday, September 6, 2022, 6 p.m. Council Chambers, Courthouse, Hanville. There are no items for the regular agenda and supplemental. Looks like September 6th might be a good meeting. Ordinances, resolutions scheduled for public hearing introduced at a previous meeting. 2022-0209, a resolution authorizing the St. Charles Parish Council to approve the industrial tax exemption application for Bungie North America, Project ID 2022-0178 ITE, for participation in the industrial tax exemption program for the potential projects at Bungie's facility in Destrehan, Louisiana. Mr. Fauché.
Mr. Chairman, good evening to everyone again. Tonight, the matter before you is that Bungie is asking for your approval for them to participate in the industrial tax exemption program. They're asking you to join the school district and the sheriff in approving their application. Tonight, at the appropriate time, we have Mr. Mike Tate with Bungie here to answer any questions that you may have and to provide a brief overview of their proposal. So I don't know if you want to do that now or after public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, why don't we have Mr. Tate come up and do that before we open the public hearing?
What do I need to?
No, it's good. Yeah. I think it's good.
All right. Well, thank you all again for letting me speak about our project. I'll give a brief overview again for those that weren't here about Bungie, because I think a lot of folks just recognize Bungie as the grain facility in the parish. But we're more than that. We're a large agribusiness company. We play a pretty significant and important role in the ag supply chain, helping connect farmers with a global marketplace, and that includes U.S. farmers, Canadian farmers, North American farmers. We're a large processor of oil seeds in the U.S., and while we don't have any branded products on the shelf, on store shelves. A lot of those that do are our customers that buy our vegetable oil and do other things with it. In the same note, we are large in milling, whether it's corn milling, wheat milling, et cetera. And you would probably recognize some of our customers in the consumer packaged goods and some of their products and tasty treats that you guys have probably enjoyed in the past. So, you know, we've been in St. Charles Parish for quite some time, 60 years. Our grain facility was built in 1961. Our oilseed processing plant came online in 1967. Our current employment, we have 145 current employees at the facilities, with about 55% from the parish, from St. Charles Parish. So we feel we're a pretty solid employer for the parish. Our terminal, again, does connect the U.S. farmer with the global marketplace, our export facility that way. We are proposing a project. Well, first, let me go back. Earlier this year in May, you guys probably do remember we announced a joint venture with Chevron, so that linked up a large oilseed processor in Bungie with a major player in the energy sector. And really the focus is on renewable energy and renewable fuels. And part of that joint venture is growth, and one of those areas that we're proposing and looking to is here in Destrehan. The project is a pretty large investment for the ag space. It's estimated today at $775 million. And there's three parts to that project. There's an expanded oilseed processing side, an expanded potential refinery for those oilseeds. And just to speak to the refinery, it's not like a crude petroleum refinery. It's a much lighter refining process to refine vegetable oil, and an additional barge unloader to help feed the new facility. With that, we do expect economic impact. Part of that is jobs. We expect to have at least 30 jobs as part of the expansion. Construction jobs will be roughly 150, could be higher with that. We do look, and we're going to work with the parish on these jobs, trying to source employees from the parish to fill those roles when they come available. The economic impact, we expect or estimate plus or minus $115 million from property and sales use tax, with about $50 million of that for the parish council. So, any questions?
I'm going to hold you up after the public hearing. If they got a couple of council people who'd like to talk. So,
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Tate.
Thank you.
File number 2022-0209 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, council and members. My name is Joan Gabler, and I do live at 304 Lorraine Street. The proposed expansion would be right in my backyard. And I just really found out about this like a week or so ago. And I have to say, Bungie did come by my house and talk to me about it, and I appreciate their conversation. And then the deeper I looked into online and some of the things that were going to occur, I started to become very concerned. I've been a resident of St. Charles Parish for 42 plus years. I've lived at 304 Lorraine Street for 42 plus years. My husband and I, he's retired. I'm right close to retirement, past retirement, but still working. But I'm looking at that, and we take care of our property. We're comfortable. We're in the 300 block. We have been comfortable. There's a vacant lot. They have trees. I don't see all the plant. We enjoy the quietness in the backyard. It's very hard for me. I've been very upset the last few weeks when I really started to feel like what was happening, because my whole world will be turned upside down. I understand progress, but I also understand long-term residents of St. Charles Parish and what makes the parish but your residents. So with that, I want to be a partner with Bungie, but I want to make sure it's the right partner, and I don't want it to impede on my safety, my health, my peace of mind, stress level. We talk about stress level. Mine has been out of the roof. Can't sleep at night, worrying about what's going to happen to me and my husband and our property. So if they would be expanding, I'd probably stay there till the day I die. But with the expansion, it's just very upsetting. So, and I didn't understand why they apply for an exemption for taxes before they even know if the zoning laws have been changed. So to me, it's like the cart before the horse. So do you find out, number one, is the zoning going to be approved? And then you apply for these tax credits. Because without the zoning, they can't proceed, right? And so it's a little upsetting to know one thing comes before the other, before the property is even rezoned. Because right now, they can't expand the way it's zoned, you know. And so, anyway, that's 2 cents.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Paul Matthews, CEO of the Port of South Louisiana. Here today in support of this process. We recognize that Bungie has done a great job here in the river parishes within the Port of South Louisiana jurisdiction, and in particular with the soybean oil expansion process. We recognize a 20% increase in job creation. But we also recognize if this doesn't happen and we don't move forward with this project, they do have opportunities to go somewhere else and move this project somewhere else outside of our jurisdiction, outside the state, and we want to keep it here so we can create jobs for our people in our community and our region. So a half of something is better than nothing that we have. And so if we move forward with this expansion, again with the 20% increase, again making sure that the Port of South Louisiana and the river parishes are at the forefront of making sure that America's farmers are moving cargo through our port and our region and keeping us as a mainstay, as a major player, global player, moving forward. We recognize the issues, again, what's going on in Europe right now, the continued conflict. This makes it more and more an international issue that I talked to you guys about almost a month ago. So this right here is a continued component of that coming through fruition. So again, I ask for your support on this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Matthews. Appreciate it. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Brian Dorico, 204 Amelia Street, Strand. As far as I'm concerned, they should not give them any kind of variance at all. Bungie has not been a terrific neighbor. Y'all don't live in our little subdivision. We're still getting dusted down. Not quite as bad as it used to be. You can't bake a cake off of the flour that's on the hood of your truck, but it still covers it, and it's on a regular basis. My neighbor washes his truck, I believe, every day to try and keep it clean. Back when they got the wharf approved, oh, we're going to have a nice green space, and we're going to have a playground for the kids. It still hasn't showed. They were offered a free for nothing, pick it up, car wash. All they had to do is pick it up and go install it. That hasn't been done. Oh, we don't need that. Well, they got what they wanted. Now, what are they going to do to us next? I'm definitely against any encroachment on our property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. If there's anyone else who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to address Ms. Jones' question about why I know you, as you said, it seems like the cart before the horse. And the reason for that is that the state's application timeline for ITAP is a small, shorter window, 60-day window. And the parish's process for rezoning takes a lot longer. It has to be reviewed through the planning department and, back and forth until they get it to the point, the application to the point where it can be put on the planning commission agenda, which could take a month to get through the planning commission and then another month to get through to where the council would see it. So does that answer your question?
And the more I've read about it, okay. I understand what you're spending money.
Oh, you can come up if you want to speak. Just so we can get you on microphone.
Yes, I don't understand all the rules and regulations around everything. I probably learned more in the last month, as, you know, since I found out. And really, it hasn't been a month, it was like August 1st. But it just seemed unusual to me that, you know, we'd spend the council's time, the parish's time, Bungie has to put up money to get these permits reviewed before you even had the zoning. So I understand everything takes time, and you have all these things, and I know the next stage is the variance meeting, and then after the variance meeting, then it goes to the zoning board, and after the zoning board, then it comes back to the parish council, so there's a lot. But, you know, to get an exemption that the parish is going to spend its time and approve, and I understand, Bungie's going to make millions of dollars for the parish, right? I understand that. It just so happens I'm in a bad spot.
Okay.
Because, you know, my home has been my
public
home.
comment is over.
Huh?
So public comment period is over.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure you had understand.
I got it.
You had understood the answer to that question. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Dufresne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you come up for a second, please? So the few people who reached out to me about this were really concerned about the buffer, how you guys want to not have the full amount of the buffer, want to make it smaller. Do you have any kind of plans or any kind of ideas of how you would plant trees? What would you do to kind of buffer this from their homes or backyards, or if you're going to encroach closer?
The idea of trees was mentioned to us late last week. We haven't really considered it, but it's something we'll take under consideration. But we're not that far along, I guess you could say, in that process.
Thank you.
Ms. Cluley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you give us like a roundabout timeline as to your process? Say, if you were to get your zoning approved, then your construction plans would be finalized, and then you would get a contractor. Is this something that's going to happen like in 6 months, in 12 months?
For construction to start?
Well, right, for your plans to be finalized, for your construction to start.
Probably would lean on Kurt for a little bit of that. Kurt Olau is our project manager. He can speak to the timeline a little more on the project.
Just so the residents will have an idea.
Yeah,
if and when things.
From a timing perspective, there's quite a bit of internal processes to go through. Obviously, we're kind of at the front end, and to lean into the question on ITEP. As the CEO of the port indicated also that we do have alternate locations we're seeking too. So we didn't want to spend efforts going two different paths at the same time in a rezone effort. So just to tack on to the ITEP question. But from scheduling, by the time this resolution happens, there's quite a bit of internal steps we have to take. Currently, we're projecting the low water window of the summer of '23 to begin construction, which is roughly, the Corps recommends a June 1st start date. So that's kind of where we're sitting at right now.
So almost a year from now.
Correct.
If this site were to be approved.
That's right.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Cormier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So previously, ITEP was a 10-year exemption that was 100%, and as opposed to the new 80-20, which also has a process in it for a 5-year accountability measure. Mr. Fauché, maybe you can speak to the council about what that 5-year checkup looks like, if you will. Is that a mechanism for us to maybe hold Bungie accountable to some of these things that they've told us they're going to do? Green space, trees, what have you. Is that the mechanism?
Yes, it will be.
Okay. So in 5 years, when they come back to the table to get their additional exemption, if they haven't done what they said they're going to do, the council has the authority to basically charge them.
One of the new requirements now is that every year they have to submit reports to LED. So they have to track numbers and spending and all of that. So as part of that, again, after that, the 5 years, you could take all of the data look at what they said they were going to do as opposed to what they are doing, and then you can make your own choices from that.
Thank you.
Ms. Belloc.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mike? I understand you said that if this were to pass, you would have about 30 more jobs, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What type of training would there be for these jobs, or what type of specific training or schooling or whatever?
A lot of it is actually on-the-job training, but I don't know, I don't have the job description in front of me, but there will be certain skills, plant operator type roles is what we'd be hiring for.
But are there is there any type of program for people to get this training?
In the parish?
To actually work at your
You would get trained through us. You'd come in as a lower level employee, however you want to say that, and then work your way up. Yeah, there's opportunity there internally.
Have you guys ever had, I guess, I'm asking, I don't know, they might know, I don't know. Have you ever had ITEP before? This is your first time applying, or?
I can't speak to that here in Louisiana. I can't speak to that. I'm not aware. I'm not sure.
Okay. That's it, thank you.
Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mike. My question's for you as well. You mentioned in the presentation in the earlier committee meeting that y'all employ a total of 145 full-time employees, and of that, 55% do reside in St. Charles Parish, which is roughly 80 employees. And I'm thinking that's a pretty high percentage compared to some of our other industry. So I just wanted to commend you all on that, because 55% is really, really good. Thank you.
If you notice, the wage we're estimating is pretty high compared to the state average as well. So.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
Ms. Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mike, in reference to the tree buffering, you mentioned that it would be considered for the residents. So what would cause you not to put any trees up for buffering?
To answer, this is a new question to me, and I can't answer that question. What would not consider? Give us a chance, and we can look into that and discuss that, and get back to you guys or to the parish president or somebody. We'll take that under advisement.
Ms. Comey.
I know it's my second time, Mr. Chair. I'd like to call up CEO Paul Matthews again. I know that the board has information relative to job creation, not just the basic jobs, the basic 30 that are direct. If you want to elaborate on that, I think it would be helpful for my fellow council members to know what that means.
Yeah, standard studies for ports, for every one permanent direct job created at a port creates 3 to 4 indirect jobs. So though we're looking at for Bungie 30 jobs, you could potentially look at 60 to 90 jobs or even more, just because of this one expansion. So it's possible by that way. So when you look at the 30 plus jobs, the average salary is $80,000, which is pretty standard in the maritime industry. It's simple math at that point. You look at the payroll numbers, the multiplication of the salaries plus the jobs, that's giving you the payroll dollars, and then you factor your certain percentages and taxes for the region to get your sales tax numbers. So anytime we see a number like this, we anticipate 3 to 4 jobs indirect coming forth. And if there's anything that we can do as a port when it comes to training and help in any way, we're more than willing to do that. If there's any partnerships with community colleges, whether it's River Parish community colleges or Delgados, whatever, we're more than willing to partner with Bungie to make sure that everybody in our region has an opportunity and is exposed to the opportunity, right? That's really important, right? So we're willing to help with that.
Kirk, could you come up for a minute? Got a couple questions for you. You've heard a couple of the residents, and I'm sure you've gone out and met a few of them. You've heard some of the complaints about dust and noise, and Ms. Cooley brought up about barriers and stuff. So the existing equipment has been there since 1967, am I correct?
That's the way I understand it.
Understand it. So you're familiar more with the new process equipment.
That's right.
So there's a lot of advances have been made, right? So you've seen some of their concerns. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the dust controlling measures that the new equipment's going to have, or the equipment you're going to be proposing is going to have?
Yeah, so all new equipment will be best available control technology. And say previous separation of dust was based on maybe cyclonic means. Whereas now we're going to employ scrubbing systems or baghouse collectors or ultra-high efficiency type cyclones. So there's quite a bit of new technology out there than what existed many decades ago that we will employ. We will truly expect things to get better. The impact to the community and the surrounding homes will improve with the project as a whole.
I know you did a real bit of expansion. Mike talked about the loading arms now, about the dust control and things like that. Appreciate it. I would appreciate you take a look at it, and if there's, as this goes, if there's any other way you can help out, you can do stuff, whether it's a buffer zone or it's going out and meet with residents, some things like that. I would appreciate y'all looking forward to that. And you as a project manager, I'm sure that's kind of like in your wheelhouse.
Yep, so, for sure.
All right, appreciate y'all coming. Ms. Cooley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Corey, if you could, like you had mentioned in our previous meeting, what the sales tax impact and the property tax impact for those 10 years, even though we do give the ITEP exemption. And it's not just the council, it's the sheriff's office and the parish school.
Parish-wide, over a 20-year horizon, even with the exemption, you're looking at an additional $90 million worth of sales tax coming into all of the local taxing bodies. And that's sales tax and property tax.
So that's sales tax and property tax?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Any further council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2022-0209. And that motion passes unanimously. 2022-0224, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement with Providential Engineering and Environmental Group, LLC, to perform engineering services for the raw water intake structure pile bent replacement project number WWKS 112, in the not-to-exceed amount of $86,860. Mr. Gordon.
Good evening. So this contract is for Providence to basically look at the pile bents. Pile bents are basically the legs of the intake structure on the West Bank. They hold up the decking. Currently about 9 need replacing. So this is to utilize their services for the design of those replacements and for any kind of construction administration. Again, this is on the West Bank intake. This is not associated with the previous project on the West Bank, where that was to deal with the water intake underneath the level of the river. Mr. Franklin, Providence's engineering, is here also tonight to answer any kind of questions, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. File number 2022-0224 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2022-0224. And that motion passes unanimously. Resolutions. 2022-0229, a resolution to approve the civil service pay plan as recommended by the personnel officer in accordance with the compensation and pay classification study conducted by SSA Consultants. Ms. Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, council members, and Parish President Jewell. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all this evening. The Civil Service Board, as you may know, has approved the proposed pay plan as presented. We are asking for the council to approve the final, or to provide the final approval, which will allow us to implement the pay plan and to fund the increases. I am very excited about this much-needed job study. It has been a year-long, huge project for the parish and for our department. This is an investment in our employees, which is our greatest asset, as you know. And I'm very confident that this is an investment in a more productive and high-quality organization. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Cody Saucier, our representative from SSA Consultants, and I will stay close by and I'll be happy to return to the podium for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Parker.
Good evening, council members. My name is Cody Saucier. I am the project manager and consultant from SSA Consultants that completed the compensation and benefit study for the parish. I have a brief presentation which I would like to go over, which discusses the methodology we used for the project, as well as some of our primary findings and recommendations. So with that being said, I can go to the next slide. So our primary project goals was to provide St. Charles Parish with accurate market and government data for each and every position within the parish. This means we did not take a benchmarking approach. We looked at each job individually. We also reviewed the benefit package and compared it with regional peers. And then we provided recommendations and assisted with implementation plan, which is the process that we're in right now. So that was our primary project goals. So the next slide. Our project methodology really focused around a few key aspects. The first was the job analysis questionnaire. So whenever we first started the project, we learned that many of the position descriptions within the parish had not been updated in some time, some as long as the mid-90s. So whenever you're doing a compensation and benefit study, you have to have accurate and up-to-date information in order to provide accurate and up-to-date market information back. Good data in, good data out. So as a part of that process, we provided a job analysis questionnaire to each and every employee of the parish. This questionnaire is comprehensive and it accounts for a few different factors, including duties and responsibilities, education, experience, supervision exercised, and independence of action. Basically everything that you would find in a position description directly from the employees themselves. These job analysis questionnaires were then reviewed twice, first by their department directors and then by the personnel department to ensure completeness and consistency. So we reviewed each individual position based on these job analysis questionnaires and the above mentioned parameters. Go to the next slide. So we use a database. So we don't take like a point-based approach. We literally match each individual position into a database, which is updated quarterly. This comes from the Economic Research Institute, which allows us to filter for two key aspects. One, we wanted to filter for government-specific data. So we were doing more a closer apples-to-apples comparison than you would if you were pulling in industry data as well. And we wanted to use regional-specific data. So we're not dealing with things that are far beyond St. Charles Parish or out of state or anything like that. So the ERI database contains compensation information for over 11,500 jobs in over 1,000 different industries and in over 11,000 different regional locations. It's very comprehensive, and it really allows us to provide accurate information for each of the jobs in the parish. Go to the next slide. So primary findings and implementation. So based on the results of the compensation study, we recommended to adjust all positions that fell below that government provided data and adjust any employees which fell below the newly assigned grade. So as a result, St. Charles Parish has made the adjustments to their pay plan, which is what is before you tonight. And as a part of that implementation plan, we worked with St. Charles Parish to make sure that that pay plan was consistent with the recommendations that we provided on our data. So the pay plan it does meet the criteria of our recommendations on that data. And benefits were found to be roughly comparable to the regional peer group. There are some areas which you are definitely more generous than others, especially when it comes to monthly health care premiums for employee plus family. A lot of the regional parish groups that are around you, it costs a whole lot more to have a family in those parishes and keep them on the health plan. So some of the things are better than your regional peers. So what's next? We'll continue to provide support to St. Charles Parish as it implements the study over the course of the next few months. And I know that this is step one, and there are a few other steps that they're going to be doing afterwards, and we're happy to provide support in any way that we can, answer any questions or provide any information that we need to. Does anyone have any?
Cody, we'll get you back up again after the public
That's
hearing.
fine. No problem.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Just stay close.
I'll do that.
Thank you. Okay, file number 2022-0229 is now open for public comment. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. My name is Minister Gregory Williams. I'm a pump operator. I live at 371 Trailsway Drive, Holmville, Louisiana, 70057. As far as implementing this plan, I'm not in agreement with it because the department I work in drainage has been looked over so much for raises, and I'm looking at this plan, and I'm not going to benefit from it. There's no way possible. First of all, you took the merit system out from 0 to 3. And they don't have 1 and 2. So if I take some days off and I get a bad evaluation, I get a 0. That goes against me getting a raise. Also, I work through storms, hurricanes. Drainage is your first call. We've done some dramatic things, and now you're telling me if I get a 0, I can't get a raise? I work through storms. I fight alligators, coyotes, everything, snakes, everything. I killed a big old snake today I walked up on in engineers. But you telling me if I get a bad evaluation, I can't get a raise. I'm not in support of this. Now, if the last meeting that we had this whole room full of people with a complaint and they passed it, I'm not understanding that. I feel I worked too good and too hard to be subject to something that's not beneficial to me. I pay the same mortgage, car note, insurance, everything that y'all pay. All of us have them bills. And I don't feel I'm being entitled to what I deserve. The previous administration and this one, drainage has not received a raise. Check it. But yet still everybody else could get a raise who's not beneficial to us. For the storm, we were the first ones out. They missed that. We fought electric lines, everything, trying to get drainage in this parish, besides waterworks, wastewater, and everybody else who works for public works. And I feel that this is not fair. Now, I can't speak for everybody else, but I can speak for me and my family. In order for me to survive, I'm not in agreement with this pay plan because I'm not going to benefit from it. I don't know what's going to happen. I could catch COVID, I could catch monkeypox, anything. We got too much going on. If I take a week off, that's a bad evaluation, and they know it. But they're telling me because of COVID, they're not degrading, we're not getting a bad evaluation. No, we got more than COVID. I might get pneumonia, I might get sick, I don't know. I might get bit by a snake or something. I'ma still get a bad evaluation. They changed it from 0 to 3 now. Either you're going to get a 0 or you're going to get a 3. What happened to 1 and 2? What happened? I feel that we do too much to be subject to that. Also, I don't appreciate...
I got to stop you 1 minute. Your 3 minutes is up.
Okay.
Would you like some more time?
Yeah, I like some more time.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Dufresne, second by Ms. Cormier to extend Pastor Williams' time by 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fisher. Also,
well, I've got to vote on it first.
Oh.
That motion passes unanimously. You got 3 more minutes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, council. Also, my paper that we signed for that was changed, and I never seen it. And I appreciate the phone. What the number is on the phone? Yeah. The JEQ. Thank you, Brother Evan. The JEQ was changed. We never seen them. So you changed something that I signed and I didn't see it? I'm not in agreement with that. They said that in the last meeting. So y'all went on whoever signed it and he done his study. As I explained to him, you don't know my job. Nobody can tell you about my job better than me. Nobody. All I want is fair. That's it. And I think that we deserve a pay increase. Not from no bunch of numbers on a paper. No. We should be evaluated fairly and receive what's due in that scripture. You're supposed to pay a man his just wages. And I feel that we do too much work. Don't get me wrong, I love my job now because I love helping people. But this ain't fair. This is not fair at all. Because there's no way possible you're going to stand here and tell me that drainage hasn't had a raise from the previous administration and this one. Thank you, Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Councilman. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
This is somebody's phone. Rochelle Johnson, 646 Grand Bayou Road, Des Allemands, Louisiana 70030. I'm coming up front in regards to the same situation as what was just spoken. In different terms, I want to speak as a long-term employee. Working for the parish for 25 years, and I speak amongst several employees that have been here for quite a long time. We are the backbone of St. Charles Parish. If you didn't have us, you have nothing. We came here after the storm, days after the storm. We come here day in and day out. We print water bills. We read meters. We fix water lines. We dig ditches. We do multiple things. Wastewater, dig sewer lines. I can go on and on. But speaking for long-term employees, you meet that cap, you're done. You get absolutely nothing. Not a cost of living, not a merit, nothing. So for 25 years, I have put everything into this job. And don't get me wrong, I make good money. I love my job. But what happens to those 25 years that I put in? And now I'm vested and looking towards retirement, and you're going to tell me now? You're done. You get absolutely nothing. Yeah, you're telling me in 3 to 5 years you're going to do another job study? What does that mean to me? Today, it's now. Inflation is up. Groceries are up. I'm paying the same mortgage, the same grocery bills, the same gas, everything that everybody else is paying. So what makes one person at the bottom or one person that is way at the top that's going to go up 10 ranges, or somebody at the bottom that's going up 2 ranges and I'm getting nothing? What makes it fair? And just like the other guy said, we never had a chance to even review our JAQs. Not once. It left our hands and it was gone. Never came back to us. We have no idea what was submitted. Was it right? Was it wrong? We don't know. Nobody knows my job. Nobody knows my job like somebody else does. Like I know my job. Bring somebody in, let somebody watch me.
then you can write it. I don't know what Dana does. Dana doesn't know what I do. It's food for thought. I mean, we're just, longtime employees are just really hurting.
Johnson, I gotta stop you. Would you like 3 more minutes?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I just wanted to voice my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone else who would like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, Council. President Jewell. I'm here on behalf of the job study also. I am a 31-year veteran of this organization.
Could I ask you to state your name and your address?
Oh, I'm sorry, Janine Pierre Johnson.
Thank you, Ms.
308 Ash Street, Hornville, Louisiana.
Thank you, dear.
I was just flabbergasted when I found out that my job didn't pass the evaluation to be upgraded. I have worked through hurricanes. This past hurricane season, I was more here than at my home that was damaged. I work faithfully every day. I have perfect attendance for the last 8 years. That's just how devoted I am. And then when you look at my job description, which does not match what I'm doing because it hasn't been updated since 2010. Nothing was changed. We were not told, change the job description, just do what's on the questionnaire. And that's what we did. It's 2 of us in our office. We do the same thing.
What's your department?
The procurement department. We do the same thing. We were both flabbergasted. We could not believe it. As hard as we worked to keep everything going from the beginning of a storm to the end, from bids, anything you name, vehicles being purchased, anything that's needed, we are there front and center. Before hours, after hours. Our department is one of the departments that come in for 6:45 to be sure that waterworks, wastewater, public works can get on their job early in the morning. They don't have to wait until 8:30 when everyone else get here. We're here. And then when we're asked to stay after hours, just last week, we are in a bind to purchase vehicles because we can't get the chips. We found out we had vehicles through state contract. I stayed here to be sure that departments got their purchase orders done. I sent them their specs, they sent me a requisition. I got everything done so that they could get their vehicles ordered, because vehicles now are out like anywhere from a year to a year and a half. This is what we do to keep everything rolling. When these departments call screaming and hollering, my truck is broken. I need a truck for my department. We're on it. And just to say, all of a sudden, there's a job study, and with that being said, you don't get recognized, you're not appreciated or anything. That's what I feel. I feel unappreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. I didn't have anything else on the agenda, so get a little bit of it. Look, I'm only speaking on behalf of my department and my staff. That's all. Mike Labert, Director of Planning and Zoning. We went through a process where all the employees did their JAQs. They turned them into their supervisors who reviewed them, and the employees worked in their groups. So the inspectors worked on theirs together, permit techs worked on theirs together, so everyone was on the same page about assembling these. The supervisors took them to me, and we turned them over to personnel. I had several conversations with Dana and Kayla. Like, it was a process where we talked about it. We looked at what was in there, made sure everything was right. I can tell you from a hiring perspective, there are a number of jobs that we have that have been difficult to fill because they are not market rated correctly. The coastal jobs that went out a month or 2 ago got no applicants from the outside. at all, nothing. And that's a professional job that we have need of in this parish. I had a range of employees and positions who both got or had their positions altered or did not. We have an equal number of positions that were re-rated as were not re-rated, and most of the ones that did not change had been evaluated within the past 10 years. So they had been corrected. The other ones still had work to go on them. All I want to say is the process, for us at least, was consistent, and from a management and hiring perspective, I think this is necessary for us to continue to provide the services that we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Is there any council discussion? Ms. Belloc.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we had a meeting, I guess sometime one day last week or whatever, with the parish president and Dana and a couple other ladies in the room. And of course I went in, you know, from the phone calls that I got, it wasn't good. And I voiced my opinion about it. Because I said, from what I looked at, from what we saw, the foot soldiers, that's what I called them, the foot soldiers were being left out. And I said it. The foot soldiers were being left out when higher up or whoever was getting pay raises, and like this gentleman back here said from the drainage, what's that, Public Works? Drainage. And he's an important factor, but he gets nothing. His department gets nothing. It's like, this is ridiculous, but you guys are going to vote for yourselves to get a raise, but not the people who are running the parish, who are doing all the hard work. I say no, and that's why I'm voting no. How? I don't understand how we can sit here and do this when these people have come up and said that they're being totally overlooked. I don't get that. Unless you don't care about the people who's running your parish, who's helping, who's doing all the work, the dirty work. Somebody help them, somebody do something, put this on hold, take care of your people. Maybe that's why you don't get people that's not being hired, Mr. Albert. Procurement? I mean, come on, y'all. We're voting for people who already have high salaries. But you're not voting for the ones who need it? Makes no sense. No. That's it. I might have a little more, though.
Thank you, Ms. Belloc. Ms. Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of things. So I, along with Councilwoman Belloc and Francisca, we did meet with Parish President Jewell. So, but I attended the civil service meeting. I don't know if anyone knew that I was here, but I was sitting back in the corner, but I was here. And I have a couple of things that I do want to talk about. So, one was that the concerns of the JAQ that everyone had spoke on, and I wish the room would have been full as it was for the civil service meeting today, so the council can actually hear. Yes, so the council can actually hear what their thoughts were. So a lot of them, as what we did have Minister Williams here, and Johnson was here as well, Rochelle. So, but from what I was hearing is that, one, they don't even know if their JAQ was even updated. if it was changed during the process. So if I completed my JAQ, have given it to my supervisor speaks with the director of personnel, how do I know if it was changed? And if it was changed, why wasn't I notified? So that's a lot of their concern as to why why were they not notified if it was changed. So to get to the recommendation that was made from the SSA to state certain jobs should have a pay increase. So did the administration and human resource make the recommendation from the company as far as the increase, or did the administration and HR look at the recommendation and decide which job title would get an increase? So how do we come along? How do we get to who gets an increase and who does not get an increase?
Sure, absolutely good question. So, so SSA consultants actually performed all the analysis on the jobs from the JAQ. The JAQ process, just to explain that in a little bit more detail, because I know that is definitely the topic of concern, and I understand that. I do want to say that. The process that was instructed to us by SSA was that we roll it out to all employees, and that was done. We met with all of our directors. We explained the process to them. We also sent out instruction to each of our directors to explain that process, and I believe I had sent that email to you, Ms. Gordon, so you were able to see that, what that process looked like. The directors were instructed to work with their supervisors underneath them, and to have their supervisors meet with each of their employees to complete the job analysis questionnaire. And from there, the employees should turn in those job analysis questionnaires. They were given, I think, about a 2-week time frame to get that done. They turned it in to their immediate supervisors. The immediate supervisors were supposed to review those, and then those were going to roll up to the directors. The directors had the final review in the departments, but again, that should have gone through that whole level of review from the employee to the immediate supervisor to then the directors. The directors then, we scheduled time with each of them for each department, and we then had a responsibility. So the director had to sign off on the JAQs, and then personnel was asked to sign off on the JAQs. That was for a consistency effort, and maybe Cody can speak to that a little bit more, but I had a responsibility on each of the JAQs to actually sign off, the personnel department. So Kayla and I did meet with each of those directors. We reviewed the JAQs. It was a pretty thorough process. I can tell you that I have gone back and reviewed some of those JAQs. It's been about a year since we have completed those JAQs. Those were turned over actually to SSA right before the hurricane. So it's been about a year since those were completed, and I had to go back and kind of refresh my memory on those a little bit. But I did go back, and I think they were actually very thoroughly completed. Some of the changes that you speak of, and I've been very transparent about this. So again, what we had to do at that point was we met with the director. We reviewed all the JAQs. Some individuals might have said that they have no supervision, that they make the highest level of decisions or authority, as would the parish president. And so those were things that we had to go through, and we had to make sure from a consistency standpoint that were correct. So any changes that you would see on the JAQs, and I do plan to meet with each department to go over those, but those would be the only changes that you would see. It was a few check boxes, if you will. Nothing was changed, and also minimum requirements. So we did have discussions, with the directors about what are the minimum requirements. Although the ones that I've gone through so far, not a whole lot of changes, because hopefully those conversations were had at the director level. So then the changes that we were making were very minimal overall. And then once that process was complete, then those JAQs were all hard copies, and then they went on to SSA consultants. We actually did not receive the JAQs back until I think I had requested them about, I don't know, a month or two ago. Cody maybe can speak to that. So we also did not see them after that. But then SSA took those JAQs, and then they conducted the analysis using the Economic Research Institute. Cody, are you able to speak to kind of the personnel role, the director role as part of that process and why that's important?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned previously in my presentation, when your position descriptions are so far out of date, or some of them are at least, you can't expect to have good market data to use. So as a part of our process, we want to get the most accurate information. That's why we go directly to the employees, the people that are doing the job every day, and we ask them to fill it out. We ask each individual employee to tell us about your job. Tell us what you do every day. Tell us how much time you spend doing each thing. Tell us what that level of importance for each thing that you do is. Like Dana mentioned, we also ask about minimum qualifications. We ask the employees to tell us what they think they should be, and then they work through that as well. The reason that we have two checks, we have two signature lines on that JAQ is because we're trying to make sure that we're getting the best information from the parish. So there's 400 employees in the parish. That's 400 different job analysis questionnaires, give or take, that were filled out. We want to make sure that each one of them has been reviewed, if not once, at least twice. So we're just having to trust that the process, that the parish is going to give us the best information, and then we can give the best information back to the parish. And so that's the process that we try to use. That's really, as Dana mentioned, as comprehensive as we try to make it. I met with all of the directors before the job analysis questionnaire was rolled out. I handed out printouts of the job analysis questionnaire. We went through it page by page. So if any employees had any questions about it, the directors were able to answer it because they had gone through it with me. I also listed my personal contact information on the top of every single job analysis questionnaire. If anyone had any questions throughout the process, email and phone number both listed right there. Happy and more than willing to talk through it. I did provide all of the job analysis questionnaires back to Dana in a Dropbox. What we had done whenever they had provided them to us, because we use paper copies because most of the time it's easiest to distribute, especially to field employees. So you don't have to use a computer. And then we take them, we scan them all in, and then once we get them scanned in, we then use them for our purpose. So I provided the scanned copies back over to Dana. But that's really the process that we use, especially when your position descriptions haven't been updated in a while. That's the best, most, I wouldn't say it's efficient because it's time intensive. I think it took 2 months total from the moment that we launched, from the moment that we actually got them back. And we got them back, fortunately, right before Hurricane Ida. But we really wanted everyone to take their time. And I tried to stress the importance of the process, both in the meetings with Dana and the administration and all of the department directors in that meeting, the importance of that job analysis questionnaire for our work. And I tried to stress that at the beginning and still stress it now. But I did feel that they were filled out completely and accurately. I don't think that anyone listed any. If I had seen anything that didn't make sense, and there are some other places that we've done this, because we've done this process in other parishes and other municipalities as well, both larger and smaller than this parish. And if you see anything that's inconsistent, we'd always follow out. If somebody had filled out a job analysis questionnaire and only wrote one thing down, we want to go follow up and say, you obviously, you do more than one thing. So, but we didn't have that issue in this parish because I think that there was a pretty robust process put in place for it.
I'll give an example, too, of, again, I know there's a lot of talk about change. So each employee actually completed their own job analysis questionnaire so that we can get the most accurate information. And we wanted to have all employees participate in that process. So they were able to give us their day-to-day critical task, okay? So again, the check boxes that I'm talking about, we may have, for example, and I'll just take the...
So Dana,
take a position.
Since you mentioned critical task, so you all started this questionnaire last year in May.
Yes.
So if someone had a task that has now been added between May and when it was completed, did you call the company to let them know that XYZ person has a new task, a new job or something that was changed within the time period of the JAQ that they had it? So if somebody's title changed, did you send something to the company to let them know, or if a task was added or something?
So I think that's a good point also. It was a very lengthy process. I, feel like the hurricane certainly took our efforts away from this project, which was unfortunate. But after the first of the year, and Cody's team was working on the analysis, and after the first of the year, we met with each department to go over the results. So the directors did have an opportunity to let us know, one, if anything was missing or if anything had changed significantly. There were possibly some one-offs maybe that had some changes or some updates or things that are missing. So we did work on that analysis throughout the spring as well. But I would say that was more about like missing information and those kinds of things. New positions that were developed, those kinds of things, yes. And our goal is to do a job study every 3 to 5 years going forward.
So, okay, I'm glad you said that, with 3 to 5 years. So that's your goal, but what if the administration states that they do not want to have another job study done? So then now we're in 3 to 5 years from now. So another job study is going to be maybe done. And if it is done, the individuals that have now received an increase, of course, they're going to be looking for an increase. And then you're finally going to give the individuals who did not get an increase. So it still won't catch up to where they are, because whoever is receiving the increase now is still going to continue going up. So it's still not going to balance out to having another job study done every 3 to 5 years. Why can't we just relook at the bigger picture, and instead of versus not giving everybody an increase, look at the bigger picture? Because as President Jules said, we have 2 billboards that's sitting on the East Bank and the West Bank that keep stating we are now hiring. Every 2 weeks we come to this same meeting and it states we're now hiring the same jobs. Are those jobs getting an increase?
It is possible, yes.
So it's possible. Possible is the key word, possible.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone needs an increase. Gas is going up, milk is going up, everything is going up. So how can you say in your department, is everybody getting an increase in your department?
No, they are not.
So how many, you have 4 people in your department.
Correct.
So out of 4, 3 people is getting an increase. So how do you think the individual in your department feel when they're not getting an increase? They have to come face you every day, face Kayla every day. They have to come to work not getting an increase. You're walking, everybody else is walking with an increase. So how do you think the individuals are feeling? So you want someone to come to work from 8 to 3, 8 to 4, I don't know what the time is. So now you want Ms. Johnson, as she stated, they had to do something last week. So you want her to stay late, not you, but her manager wants her to stay late. She's not getting an increase. So one, I'm already mad because I'm not getting an increase. So now I have to stay late. So who actually made the decision on what step individuals go on? Because if that's the case, why not just one step, everybody? So why not go from step 5 to step 20? That's a large increase. Why can't everybody get an increase? Everybody is working. Everybody comes to work.
Yes, I think you make some extremely valid points, and I want to share that I understand how employees feel. This is not about performance. So many of the employees that you've probably heard from, some of those that you've heard from this evening, are excellent employees. A market analysis does not look at performance overall. And a market analysis study does not allow for an increase for every employee. It truly looks at the job within the market. So it looks at more of the position and not the individual. So again, It looks at the position, yes. It looks at the position and not the performance of the individual. We have many excellent employees that will not see an increase. I will share with you all that I did just some overall analysis, and 80% of our workforce will see some type of increase. That is substantial. We did a job study in 2016, and that was not the case. We had 47% of our positions move up in grade. That was pretty significant. So again, 321 employees, this will impact. It's overall, from a cost standpoint, it's about $260,000 we are investing directly into our employees. And that's just for the remainder of this year. For next year, it's about $760,000. And Grant probably has those final numbers. Those are my rough estimates. I'd also be happy to share with you all this document, which now I'm feeling like probably should have been shared. With you all. It's not been a secret, it's just been our working document actually just to help us. But it'll show you from our grade 7 all the way to our highest grade, which I believe is now a 41. Anyone in green, any position in green will see at least a 5% increase or to the minimum. So for example, and so you can look at this document and you can see that this is not just our positions at the top, this is across the board. And for example, our laborers, many of our laborers, I believe, and I can't say all of them, but the majority of our laborers will see a 15% increase. That's huge. And so I feel like there is somewhat of some misinformation, and maybe I'll take accountability for that. But this is across the board, all positions. This is not just at the highest level. Again, I'm just looking kind of at the beginning: labor, wastewater labor, grass cutter 1, shop mechanics helper, tool room clerk. Those are all positions that we'll see, and everybody in those positions will see a 5% increase or to the minimum of that new grade. This is a significant impact to our employees across the parish. And I do understand those employees that are not receiving an increase. And again, that is never the intent of a market analysis study. And to my knowledge, the market analysis studies that we have done in the past did not allow for or did not provide an increase for all employees. This is not anything that new that is happening at this point.
Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. So, yeah, a lot of misinformation here. To say that employees that just at the top are moving up is just factually untrue. When you look at that document, you look across every single range, employees are moving up. There's also employees, 53% of the employee base is not going to be moving up. But it's important to talk about why we did the job study in the first place. I went around to every department. I spoke to our employees. I said, what is it that we can do better? We talked about policies that were inconsistent across departments, which we've started to address. And we talked about pay. A lot of our employees felt like they weren't being paid fairly. And so I said, you know what, that's a good point. Let's make sure you're being paid fairly. That's what a market analysis does. If we wanted to just set out to give everybody a pay increase, we could have just saved the money that went to SSA and just said, okay, everybody gets a pay increase. But that really wasn't. I'm speaking right now. So that's not what we set out to do. We set out to make sure everybody was being paid fairly. Because of the fact that we've done piecemeal job studies across here, this is one of the things that the employees said. We're tired of just certain people in certain departments getting to do job studies. We had a department in 2019. They got their own job study, and they saw significant increases as a part of that. That was terrible for morale for the rest of the workforce, because the rest of the workforce didn't have that luxury. So we said, we're going to do things differently. They also said they didn't like the company we were using before. They didn't feel like they were getting a fair shake. We said, okay, we'll put out an RFP. We'll use someone different. We interviewed those top 3. We selected SSA. When I told SSA, I said, I want to make sure we're competitive amongst governments. I want to make sure that our employee base is being paid fairly. Okay? And so
That's what the results of this job study show, is that some people are being paid fairly. It shows that some people are not being paid fairly, and that's why we're moving those minimums up. That's why we're moving those positions up in grade. It also shows that some people are actually being compensated higher than what's recommended. Now, we're not going to move anybody down. We're not going to take away anything from anybody, but it's important to note that as a result of this job study, not one employee is losing one single penny. Okay, we're not taking anything away from anybody. And the fact that we're moving to a step system, when we put someone on a step, if you fall in between those steps, we're not moving you to the lower step. You might be pennies away to the lower step, but we're moving to the next highest step. That's when Dana's talking about 80% of the workforce is going to see some sort of increase. Now, it's important to talk about, again, that this was not personal. I know some people feel like they've been targeted, or that we skipped them and we didn't look at them. That's not the case. We looked at every single position, not every single person. When we talk about raising salaries for our employees for their good work, that's why we have merit-based compensation. Now, again, the gentleman, Mr. Williams, was correct. We are moving from a 0 to a 3, or a 0 or a 3. It used to be 0, 1, or 3. There was no 2%. At least there hasn't been for many, many years. And so part of what Mr. Williams said was he's afraid that he may not get a good evaluation and get a 0%. We understand that. As moving to a step position, we want to make sure that that our employee evaluations are at a high standard, but not impossible to achieve. So when we mention sick leave and other things like that, we know that as a part of this, our next step is going to review our employee evaluation. We want to make our employee evaluation more objective and not subjective, to allow employees who are coming to work every day, who are doing their job, they should be getting merit compensation. And our employees who are not showing up to work every day, who are LWOPing, who are getting disciplined on a regular basis, who may fall into the category of absenteeism. There's a difference between being sick and having to skip work. We have sick time for that. And there's a difference between just not showing up because you don't have any time and you get sick, okay? So making our employee evaluation, strengthening it, setting our standards high, and making sure that employees who are supposed to receive employee merit raises are increasing. I can tell you right now, 93% of the workforce received a 3% last year. 7% received a 1%. 0% received a 0%. So I think there's a room for improvement on the employee evaluation, and we're going to do that. Now, and let me just say, that has been something that's been very well received by the workforce. They want to make sure that employees, because it's happening right now, employees who are doing those things like I talked about, LWOPing, absenteeism, behavioral issues, they're getting the same 3% merit increase as people who are coming to work every day, who are never getting in trouble, who are outstanding employees. Our employees like that. They want to see that change. I want to talk about job descriptions. The JAQ drove the analysis. The JAQ becomes the job description. So if your job description hasn't been reviewed since 1990 or since 2006, we're taking what you put on that JAQ and updating that job description with those core functions. That is a part of this process, is updating these job descriptions. We want to talk about responding to hurricanes. This is a duty that our employees know very well when they sign up to work for us. As a part of responding to a hurricane, our employees receive emergency pay. They get time plus time and a half on top of that. That is their compensation. That is their hazard pay for having to stay here during a hurricane, for having to come in when they don't have any power at home, when they don't have any power here, when we're in those terrible conditions. So we compensate our employees for that. But our employees, from the JAQs that I read, put on there that they are considered essential personnel as a part of their duties during a storm or any type of other natural disaster. So that should have factored in Cody's analysis. I won't lie. This job study comes at a very rough time. It is very rough timing for us. We're having very high inflation, the highest inflation we've seen since the 1980s. We have costs going up on vehicles, costs going up on insurance, costs going up on flood insurance. And so we know our employees are feeling it, okay? We still have the ability to adjust our pay plan for cost of living. We have that ability to do that. We have not thrown that out the window. Lastly, I'll just say that I appreciate every single employee. I appreciate them a lot. They appreciate everything y'all do. I know y'all don't maybe believe it. I know you might be mad at me right now because of this job study, but it's something that, that I take very seriously. I know that not everybody's happy from it, and I learned very early on in this job that I'm not going to make everybody happy. But I believe that this process was the right thing to do. I think that it was done fairly, and I know that that the work is not done on it. That we have to continue, as the charter says, to maintain our pay plan. So we look forward to doing that.
Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Regarding the essential employees, as Parish President Jewell stated out, they are compensated. And I have a different perspective because I've been civil service, I've been an appointed employee, and now I'm on the council. I understand the view from all sides. Essential employees, as he said, are compensated for the work that they do during storm events. And that is time and a half, if overtime. And so I guess what I wanted to gain an understanding of is, did that come into play at all in the scoring? If someone wrote that down, and was consistency
Absolutely.
looked for in that, if it was an essential employee, did y'all look to make sure that that was indeed in their JAQ?
Yes, ma'am. Anyone that wrote that down, we made sure to take that into account. Like I said earlier, we didn't score them. Like, we didn't apply a number score to any individual JAQ. We matched it to database data. And as Dana mentioned earlier, it has nothing to do with individual employee performance. We didn't take that into account. It was solely market data. But what they wrote down, we made sure to take into account.
Okay. And Dana, that's all for now.
Thank you.
I know from experience and the problem in the past, I'm wondering how well the employees understood that this new study would be based on the JAQs that they filled out instead of the job descriptions.
Yes, so I did go back and look at our instructions. I will say the instructions were very clearly laid out. We also sent an email out to all employees and posted it on our boards as well for our field employees. But it clearly stated that the JAQ was going to be used for the market analysis. Also, we involved our directors and our supervisors in that process to help explain that. And I will tell you that I did go back and look at some of the JAQs. For example, I have a meeting with Waterworks tomorrow, so I was specifically looking at theirs today. There was a full page of job responsibilities by many of their employees. They looked very thorough to me. Now, for me to say whether that included everything, again, I relied on our departments and our supervisors to clearly understand that, but I can tell you that they looked very thorough to me.
Okay, so did they have a good understanding that the jobs would be reviewed against other local governments and not industry?
I don't know that that decision was made at that point. I don't know that we committed to anything at that point.
As I did watch the Civil Service Board meeting, and that is how ultimately it was decided, because we cannot compete with industry, correct?
Yes, that is correct. But SSA gave us the data for both government as well as overall market data, including private and government sector as well. So they gave us both sets of data. And we did explain that as a decision point, we decided to compare against government market rates.
Okay. Now, cost-wise, I had asked for some projections, and I haven't received those, so I'm not sure what the status of that is.
So I have rough estimates.
Well, I'll just say, Grant, did you want to speak to the financial side?
Yeah, I mean, we're currently working on everything. As Dana said, for this year, it's about a $260,000, $263,000 impact next year. It's just under 800. That doesn't include cost of living because that's still to be determined right now.
I guess because I heard those numbers when I attended the meeting with Councilwoman Derringsburg Gordon and Belloc, and we're expected to vote on this tonight, and I still don't have that information, so that concerns me, but I'll move on. I do want to say that I did watch the meeting, as I mentioned, and I was very impressed with the turnout of the civil service employees who attended and publicly voiced those that publicly spoke and voiced their concerns, because as a former civil service employee and appointed employee, I can tell you that it's sometimes intimidating to speak before the Civil Service Board, much less the Parish Council. So I commend those who did actually show up. When you voice your concerns en masse like that, it does make a difference. It may not make a difference in the vote, but your concerns are heard, and I think that some of those concerns will ultimately be addressed. And also, Parish President Jewell, your staff, and Dana, your office, this is a tremendous undertaking, as you mentioned, to do this for not just a select group of civil service employees, but the entire civil service. So it's not an easy undertaking. And as in anything, whether you're civil service or elected official, you're not going to please everyone. We all know that. I do, however, believe that there is still work that needs to be done with this, and I think y'all mentioned that at the Civil Service Board meeting. You're aware of that. And there is work still in process. This is sort of a first step in that direction. It's not perfect, but, throwing out the baby with the bathwater is not the answer. There are things that, with accepting this tonight, you can move forward and work on those things as the job descriptions are being worked on. And it's not the end. There are things that still can be done in time, given analysis. And the concerns that I feel like that had merit that were brought up at the Civil Service Board meeting and should be addressed in the months to come include, like, for instance, the employees that mentioned that they were not able to see their JAQs as they were supposed to. You read the instructions at the Civil Service Board meeting, and the directors were given the instruction to do that after they reviewed those. So the ones who did not, those employees deserve the opportunity to see those, and I hope that you all will allow them to look at the copies. And you already mentioned the other thing on the list is that the evaluations are being revised. That's been a long time coming that's needed to make it more objective and less subjective. And I think that will help some of the concerns that were mentioned. The other issue I discussed is the caps. I know that the appointed officials have been receiving, that have reached their cap, have been receiving cost of living annual increases. It's not equitable for that to continue, yet our civil service employees won't get that. So, I know y'all did assure me that you're looking at that, and I would expect that that's done equitably should this pass tonight. I think that's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
Mr. Dufresne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, I want to, Parish President, I like what he said about this is a terrible time to do this. It really is. So I'm a little different. I don't sell insurance. I'm not a realtor. I'm not retired. I own a construction company. So a lot of people who work in public works reached out to me because they know I understand what they're going through. So I got about 25 to 26 calls. And the first couple I thought were just disgruntled. But then I got calls from people who did bump up, but they're still mad because they know they're not going anywhere anymore. All right? So start off, I'm gonna just tell you my big point. You guys took a bunch of tenured, hardworking employees and made them disgruntled. Good luck trying to get that back. That's it in a nutshell. I get it. Look, it's a good thing. I'm glad people are getting raises. But the people who aren't seem like those are the ones that have been here 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And I feel for those people back there. I really do. And I get where they're coming from. The Army has this system. And you know what happens? You bust your behind and other people get promoted because you're in a slot. So the thing is, Michael Albert came out and he said, I sat down with my people. We did it as a group and all. But when I hear you giving the instructions, you know what I heard? To the heads, a lot of supposed tos, and hopefully that conversation was had. So that was most people's complaint, that they were clueless about the severity of this. And I think a lot of the language needed to be brought down to construction people's terminology. So I think there was a lot that could have been done to explain it better to the people. And I think you would have had a lot more participation. Terrible timing for it. It really is. And I'm glad to hear that you're going to do some evaluations maybe for merits. I'm glad. Did y'all tell the people that? Was when you sat down, was that a given to the employees?
Yes, I just want to mention, we met with every department, every employee over the course of 2 days, and we mentioned a couple of things. We mentioned the fact that that not every position was moving. We gave those percentages that we gave you here tonight. We talked to them about the STEP system. We talked to them about the merit system. We talked to them about the changes we wanted to make to the employee evaluation. So yes, they got all of that information as a part of the rollout of this job study.
So, well, it wasn't going to get cost of living if you had a certain threshold. So we've been trying to hire employees for a long time, and I talked to Matt about it because I understand that our wages at the bottom were too low. But we give a lot of benefits. That's another thing. I think every employee should have been sat down and said, okay, just an example, you make $50,000, but let us show you what you're getting. We're paying $1,500 for your health insurance. We're matching this in your retirement. So you add all of that up and it might come to $65,000. I think you'd have people wouldn't be as upset. But I don't think that was done. So I don't know where you go. I'm not a fan of it. I really am.
Councilman?
I'm not. Hold on. I'm talking. Yeah. Like you told Ms. Bella, I'm speaking right now. So, I don't know, but I mean, when it was 4 or 5 people just disgruntled, I can understand. But when it was people who did move up, who were still upset because they realize where they're at now, and they might have 8, 9 years left, and they know they're not going anywhere anymore, that's hard to answer that. That's hard to look those people in the eyes. So, I'm not for this. I think it's something that was needed, and I think if we had departments that hadn't been brought up since the 90s, whatever and all, they should have been brought up. There should have been a timeline set. Everybody should have sat down, and when you have this wellness deal, tell everybody, hey, look, this department was brought up this time. We're going to slowly bring everybody up, and then 5 years we're going to do a study, and everybody will be on the same playing field. Because I understand a lot of people were promoted and moved up because of the old boy network that used to be here, and I'm glad we're going away from that. I want people to get raises based on their work. But I also want them to get treated fairly that have been here for 10, 15, 20 years working hard every day. So my example was, I'm in there for 15 years, I'm making $50,000. You guys hired me an apprentice 2 months ago. All of a sudden, he gets bumped up to 45. He can't even spell my job. I'm not going to be a happy camper. I'm really not. The other thing is, when we're going to try to hire people now, they're going to call somebody that works for the parish. And God, let's hope they don't talk to somebody who's mad, because they're going to tell them, why go to work there? I've been there 15 years, and they slap me in the face. That's the way they feel, and I'm with them. Because, I'm a foot soldier. I've always been a foot soldier, so I'm going to stand up for the foot soldiers. And this is one time there's way too many chiefs in the TP. Thanks.
I'd like to address the maximums, because I know that
You can't, unless you ask a directed question.
I was going to speak to something that he had made mention of, and that's
Councilman
employees
Dufresne.
being disgruntled because
Question.
once they reach the maximums.
You have a question for Mr. Parker?
No, they answered it for me in the administration meeting. I mean, it still doesn't,
Okay.
it doesn't help.
Okay. All right. Ms. Cormier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the process and the attempt. I know how much this took to get to this point. but it ain't ready. It ain't ready. I had a phone call, parish president and the staff that handled this, along with Councilwoman Beth Billings. And I heard some things, and I thought I had a good grasp of it, asked a lot of questions. But what I'm hearing tonight is some uncertainty and some questions and some things that weren't exactly what I thought I heard. And, you know, we as the St. Charles Parish Council are tasked with creating policies and procedures that are in place for years beyond when we are in these seats, whether it be the parish president seat or the council seat or the director seats. We are here to ensure continuity for years to come. That means protecting those that have worked here for 25 years. That means protecting those that have just started working here. And I know the attempt is with good heart. I know it is. I don't think any of this is devious. I just think we need a little more information to feel comfortable. And please excuse us for not all being human resource professionals. It's a different language. And Ms. Parker even mentioned there was a document that maybe could have helped us make our decision. I don't know what the rush is, and that's not a question. I don't know what it is. But we're hearing from a small vocal minority tonight, and as Mr. Dufresne mentioned, I know there are more that have questions and concerns, and maybe they can be squashed at some point, and maybe there's a solution to this. But, you know, you've heard me talk about how much I care about levies and how much I care about tax dollars. I care about the people of St. Charles Parish more than I care about any of those things, and we owe them a little more time. Maybe it means a committee. When an ordinance is discussed for an hour at a council meeting, that's a sign that something's not quite right, and it needs some more work. I don't think this is ready. So I would like to make a motion to table the item, not postpone indefinitely, but table the item with the request that we have a committee meeting before the next council meeting to get answers and discuss this in further.
I have a motion by Ms. Cormier, second by Ms. Belloc, to table, to set up a committee meeting before the next council meeting to discuss ordinance, resolution 2022-0229. Is that correct? Is that what you're motion?
Correct.
Chairman, before we table, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir, Mr. Gibbs.
Actually, table.
If we do this committee meeting, are we going to come up with a solution with this committee meeting?
The committee meeting should be a place to have answers, so that's what a committee is designed for, discussion and answers.
Right.
By tabling the item, it's going to be on the next agenda.
That's my question.
I didn't postpone it indefinitely. It is still on the next agenda when you table the item, which you can take action at the next council meeting.
So they're
Correct.
going to be looking for a solution, an answer, yay or nay
All of
vote
these questions.
at the next meeting.
Correct. The item will still be voted on at the next meeting because it's tabled. Postponed indefinitely would have been removed, thrown away.
Right.
Correct.
Something the
And
committee meeting
when I
should be
request a committee
before the
meeting,
before
when I
the-
request, it doesn't have to be on the day of the committee.
Yeah,
meeting.
right.
I mean, the day of the council
Exactly.
meeting. Correct.
Right.
And the answers can also be shared with the council via email. However, the administration chooses to answer some of these things and provide some more information.
Okay, so let me clarify your motion. The motion is to table
Correct.
to the next council meeting,
Correct.
also to call a committee meeting before the next council meeting.
I'd rather not.
When they're ready.
Right.
Some of this
Okay.
may take time. They can stay on the table.
Okay. To call a
I've
committee meeting when,
Yeah, if the answers are all,
Questions?
if Holly has her info, I have my info, whatever. But it's tabled,
Okay.
which means it's not thrown away. It doesn't have to be
all right,
reintroduced.
so I have a motion to table the resolution until the next council meeting.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, it's second, yeah, second by Ms. Belloc. Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Cormier, second by Ms. Belloc. Please cast your votes.
Mm-hmm.
And that motion passes, 7 yeas, 1 nay. All righty, 2022-0230, a resolution to request an emergency temporary change of the polling places for all elections held at precincts 1-2, 1-2A, 2-3, 4-1, and 4-1A between August 15, 2022 and December 31st, 2022. These polling place revisions are needed to facilitate the elections for the remainder of the year, as certain facilities still remained under construction due to Hurricane Ida. File number 2022-0230 is now open for public comment. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Is there any council discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2022-0230. And that motion passes unanimously. Appointments. 2022-0179. A resolution to appoint a member to the St. Charles Parish Civil Service Board. The council will confirm the nomination to the Civil Service Board to fill a vacancy created by the expiration of the term of Mr. Ralph Wilderson, a 3-year term to begin immediately and expire August 1st, 2025. Our nominee is Mr. Patrick O'Malley. Please cast your votes to confirm the appointment of Mr. Patrick O'Malley to the St. Charles Parish Civil Service Board. And that motion passes unanimously. Meetings, announcements, notices, etc. Meetings, Board of Adjustment, ZBA, Thursday, August 18, 2022, 6 p.m. in the council chambers. The Housing Authority, Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, 6 p.m. in the council chambers. Hospital Service District Number 1, Wednesday, August 31st, 2022, 2 p.m. in the council chambers. Planning and Zoning Commission, Thursday, September 1st, 2022, 6 p.m., council chambers. The St. Charles Parish Council, Tuesday, September 6, 2022, at 6 p.m. in the council chambers. Some announcements. I have a parish holiday, Monday, September 5th, 2022, for Labor Day. Please note that there'll be a 3-week lapse between council meetings. The next regular council meeting will be held on Tuesday, September 6, 2022. A Board of Review. The St. Charles Parish will be sitting as a Board of Review September 9th through September 23rd, 2022, for the 2022 assessment list. Written or oral protests must be received by the Parish Council office by September 12, 2022, at 4 p.m. We have public hearings to consider the proposed 2023 capital and consolidated operating budget, Tuesday, November 1st, 2022, at 9 a.m., Thursday, November 3rd, 2022, at 1 p.m., and Monday, November 7th, 2022, at 6 p.m. I need a motion and a second to adjourn. I have a motion by Ms. Fonseca, second by Mr. Dufresne. Please cast your votes. And that motion passes unanimously. On behalf of the Parish Council, I wish everyone a happy Labor Day. Have a great evening. We're officially adjourned.